The sun was setting, casting an amber glow across the small, peaceful town nestled between the towering mountains and the edge of the sprawling forest. The gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees, and everything seemed to be in perfect harmony. Birds chirped softly from the branches, and the air was fresh with the scent of pine and damp earth. But in a quiet corner of the town, in a cozy little house just beyond the tree line, an unsettling scene was about to unfold. Inside, a small kitten named Mia had just woken from her nap. She was still groggy, her wide green eyes blinking in the dappled light that streamed in through the window. The warmth of the sun, the softness of the pillows, and the quiet of the house made her feel safe and content. She stretched, her tiny body curling and uncurling as her small paws kneaded at the soft blanket beneath her. The world outside seemed so vast to her, a place full of wonder, but also full of danger. Mia had always been a curious little creature, always exploring, always getting into mischief, but today something felt different. Mia padded toward the open window, her little paws silent against the wooden floor, her ears twitching at every sound. She was drawn by the sight of the garden, the breeze making the flowers sway gently, and the shadows dancing beneath the trees. The air was cool, and the world outside felt full of secrets waiting to be discovered. She leaned her tiny body against the windowsill, her green eyes wide with wonder as she gazed out at the shifting colors of the sky. Unbeknownst to her, the forest just beyond the garden held darker, more sinister secrets. The trees, which had always seemed so beautiful and full of life, were also home to many creatures, some of them friendly, others dangerous. And today, one such creature, silent, deadly, and hungry, was lurking just at the edge of the woods, its slithering form barely noticeable against the dry leaves and thick brush. The snake, long and sleek with scales that shimmered like polished emeralds, was moving quickly, its body coiling and uncoiling with practiced precision. Its tongue flicked out constantly, tasting the air, searching for any sign of prey. The warmth of the afternoon sun still lingered in the ground, and the snake could feel the vibrations of life just ahead. It had been tracking something, a tiny scent that had piqued its interest. It was close now, so close that it could almost taste its next meal. Hunger gnawed at its belly, a steady, insistent drive that guided its every movement. Mia, lost in the beauty of the moment, was unaware of the danger that was closing in. She didn't hear the soft rustle of leaves in the distance, nor the faintest hiss that would have sent a shiver down her spine. All she knew was the peace of the garden, the comforting scent of flowers, and the sound of the breeze in her fur. But the snake was getting closer, each movement bringing it nearer to its prey. Without warning, the snake lunged. Its body moved with a terrifying speed, an explosion of motion that left no room for hesitation. Mia had barely any time to react as the snake's coiled body shot forward, its massive form enveloping her in a tight, unyielding grip. Her heart seemed to stop as panic surged through her tiny frame. She felt the pressure, the strength of the coils, as the snake wrapped around her fragile body, its cold scales pressing against her fur. In that moment, all her instincts screamed at her to run, to escape, but the snake's grip was too powerful. Mia's tiny paws scrabbled helplessly against the ground, her claws digging into the earth, but it was no use. The world around her grew darker as her body was pulled closer to the ground, her breath shallow, heart racing. The air, thick with the scent of damp leaves, seemed to close in on her. Fear, sharp and cold, wrapped itself around her heart, squeezing tight. The kitten had never known real danger until now, and every instinct told her she was in the grip of something far too powerful for her to escape. Her mind raced, but there was nothing she could do. The snake's hunger burned brighter as it prepared to strike again, its jaws widening, ready to finish what it had started. Its unblinking eyes gleamed with a cold, calculating look, and its body twitched in anticipation. Mia's world was slipping away, her body numb from the pressure of the snake's grasp. She could hardly breathe, and her small body felt as though it were being crushed under the weight of the predator's power. But then, something extraordinary happened. A rustling sound echoed from the underbrush, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps pounding the earth. The snake hesitated, its coils loosening ever so slightly as it turned its head toward the sound. Mia's heart skipped a beat, unsure of what was happening. But in that instant of uncertainty, her survival instincts kicked in. With a surge of desperation, she twisted, her tiny body wriggling against the snake's grip, her paws clawing at the ground with whatever strength she could muster. Her heart thudded wildly in her chest, and with a final, frantic effort, Mia managed to break free, her body slipping out of the snake's tight coils. The snake recoiled, confused and startled by the sudden movement, its hunger thwarted in an instant. Before it could react further, the large figure of a dog burst through the underbrush, barking loudly, his fur bristling with determination. The dog's deep, powerful voice was a force of nature, and the snake, sensing the larger threat, hesitated for a moment longer. The dog's presence was overwhelming, a protector in the truest sense. His eyes locked onto the snake with a fierce, protective glare, his body poised to defend. The snake, realizing it was no longer alone, hissed and slithered backward, its instincts telling it to retreat rather than face the much larger animal. Slowly it disappeared into the thick underbrush, its hunger unsatisfied. Mia, gasping for breath, lay trembling on the ground. Her tiny body shook with fear and exhaustion, her heart still racing in her chest. The adrenaline coursed through her, and she could barely process the shift from sheer terror to safety. She looked up at the dog, who stood above her, his eyes softening as he trotted over to her, nudging her gently with his nose. His warm, reassuring presence was a comfort, something solid, something she could trust in the midst of the chaos. Mia, still too stunned to fully comprehend what had just happened, leaned into the dog's touch. She felt the steady rhythm of his breath, his heartbeat, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she began to calm down. Her body still trembled with the aftershocks of fear, but the dog's presence grounded her, made her feel safe again. The dog stood by her, his watchful eyes scanning the yard, ensuring the danger had passed. Mia, still in shock, curled up in a tight ball, her body still shaking but no longer in immediate danger. Her mind raced, replaying the events that had just unfolded. She had been so close, too close, but now, thanks to this brave, unexpected protector, she was safe. As the last rays of sunlight began to fade, the garden felt strangely peaceful. The danger had passed, but Mia could feel the weight of what had just happened settle within her. She had learned something today, not just about the dangers that lurked in the shadows, but also about the extraordinary power of friendship, of protection, and of loyalty. The dog, having made sure the snake was truly gone, turned back to Mia, his tail wagging gently. She reached out, her tiny paw brushing against his warm fur, and for the first time since the attack, she allowed herself to breathe freely. Mia had made it through the danger, and she wasn't alone anymore. She had someone who cared for her, someone who had protected her without hesitation. The snake was gone, but Mia would never forget what had happened. The world outside was still dangerous. Yes, but there were moments, rare and precious, when protection and trust made it all bearable. As the dog stood watch over her, Mia realized that in this vast, unpredictable world, she wasn't just a helpless kitten. She was part of something larger, a world where courage and love could overcome even the deadliest threats. And with that realization, she felt a deep, comforting sense of peace settle over her, knowing that whatever the future held, she would always have someone to stand by her side.